actually wasn't bipolar. I had sleep deprivation, which could cause dementia 10 to 20 years from now, where I wouldn't even remember my son's name. So all this power that I got, and I'm taking my son to the Sox game and all that, I wouldn't be able to remember his name from a misdiagnosis.
You know, when I started the Matt Sager podcast, I made it a mission statement that I would do my best to avoid subjects like politics, racial stuff, all the kind of stuff that leads to heavy friction. And so today is especially difficult because, for once, Trump was the normal guy in the room in the West Wing, which is quite rare. Kanye is on a roll. The one thing I will say is this. For what it's worth, this is just me, I suffer from severe sleep deprivation. Furthermore, I suffer from depression. I'm gonna be very honest and upfront about this. I also take Ambien on a regular basis for said sleep deprivation, and I've never tweeted something that the next day my whole life was destroyed because I'd uttered something horrifically racist. There are many potential side effects to Ambien. Racism, craziness, those are not among them. Eating a big hunk of cheese and then forgetting about it, that has been known to happen. I've actually seen people, I've walked in on them at 3 a.m., just eating a hunk of cheese, like a little late night snack, like it was a cracker. But I've said, for instance, hey, Steve, you know that's not a cracker you're eating. That is a pound of Gouda. And Steve, again, that's a pseudonym for any number of Ambien users I've encountered along the way. For me, Ambien barely does the job of getting me to get 4 hours of sleep. And yet you'll never hear me say, the president should be flying a hydrogen plane. Last time people used hydrogen for aerial conveyance, it went spectacularly. Don't you remember how excited the announcer was talking about the humanity? Oh my God, oh, this is the worst thing. Oh no, hydrogen isn't good. Yeah, Ambien and sleep deprivation do not cause that, just as they don't cause you to tweet out hateful things about other races and religions. Oh, Kanye. I'm saddened as a fellow artist, nowhere near as gifted as you, yet somehow, there is this pretty dangerous, in my opinion, myth about artists. And that depression and mental illness and artistry are two peas in a pod. They're attributes that go hand in hand with one another. And I think to some extent, there's evidence of some of that being true, but it's also something that's been overanalyzed. If someone said out loud to the intelligentsia and made it a lifelong study that there was mental illness among law professors or lawyers or doctors or business executives or bankers, I think you'd probably find roughly the same parity. With musicians and other artists, it may be more exaggerated because they get to show some of that mental illness in their art. And sometimes it even, in a very weird roundabout way, this is not to in any way glamorize it, but sometimes that mental illness can be channeled into something positive. A good therapist will help you figure out how to do something with that nervous energy and that anxiousness, and how to, people use art as therapy. And if it turns out that they're savants and they turn out to be platinum selling artists, and it all started because they went to a therapist who said they were bipolar, or maybe not bipolar, but they might have been at risk of dementia, or God knows who told Kanye what, then sure, there can be some crossover. But mental illness and politics should not intersect, and, look, I don't know Kanye personally at all. Never met the man. Don't know anyone in his circle. I'm aware of his talent, and I am in awe of his talent. But I'm kind of a rocker. To the extent I'm a hip-hop guy, which is fairly extensive. I came of age in the 80s, so when I think of hip-hop, I think of NWA and Public Enemy, and I get that the world has moved on and passed me by, and that there are entire new generations of artists who are speaking to the world in a way that those artists spoke to me, and who are monstrously talented, whether they're mentally ill or not, and that Kanye stands very tall among them. As such, I would think and hope that there are people in his life who care about him, and who understand that the show he put on today. Forgetting about partisan politics, let's pretend I love Trump, I love his administration, and I love everything he's doing. That's not the case, but if it were, I would still look at Kanye's performance today. I urge you to just watch a couple minutes. You can't watch the whole thing. It's very sad. It's very painful. It honestly made me want to cry at moments when he talked about how he wanted to abolish the 13th Amendment because it's just like falling into a trap door, and when you land at the other end of the trap door, you're stuck in a basement with the Unabomber. I mean, it was exactly the kind of stuff you hear in the psychiatric ward of a mental hospital. And he needs help. Yes, he's a genius, and yes, he's clearly behaving publicly deranged. And it's got nothing to do with the Make America Great Again hat. It's got nothing to do with his love for Trump. There may be an intersection, but I'm not troubled by the fact that he likes Trump. I'm not disturbed and worried for his safety because he loves Trump. I'm disturbed and worried for his safety because the stuff he's saying around Trump and about Trump has nothing to do with Trump. It's about himself and about Superman and about his late parents. It's about his dementia and being bipolar or not being bipolar or being Superman. And it's a rough watch. It's a very rough read of the transcript. Jim Brown is in the room going, what am I even doing here? The president, too, looked like, what is happening? This crazy musician is going off on, it's great. I get to take a break from going off on my rants, but really, what is he even saying? There's a moment where if you have ADD or are familiar with ADD or you've ever taught kids who have ADD, there's a moment where Trump's eyes just sort of go off to the side and stay there because he goes, oh, I get it. This guy's just going to say stuff that I either don't understand or is completely crazy or, as I believe to be the case personally, me, Matt Sager, some combination of the two. He just zoned out and went to his happy place and I guess thought about family and maybe trade wars and tariffs and God knows what else. It's another sad day in America, and it's especially sad for me when artists get involved, especially artists as clearly talented and influential as Kanye West. He needs help, and I would urge the Kardashians, the Jenners, his management, his label, and his millions of friends. This is intervention time when you hear someone talking like this, and it doesn't matter who's president or who Kanye supports. That's not what this is about. He was urging that Air Force One be replaced with Zeppelins, and that was one of the least crazy things he said during his rant. So it's going to be very hard for me to top that with the Matt Sager podcast. So instead, I will just share a little bit of good news, which is that Ozark, the most underrated Netflix television show, something that now that Better Call Saul is off the air, if you're jonesing for a fix of an amazing modern-day episodic noir, played by an actor you might be most familiar with from his comedic work, but who is an amazing anti-hero, and a cast of just all stellar actors, writers and directors and producers with impeccable credentials, coming from shows like Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad and The X-Files and others. Ozark has been picked up for Season 3. Season 2 premiered over the summer. It was dumped all at once. Many of my friends and lots of people I know who are fans of the series are still finishing up Season 2. But Season 3 is confirmed. It's been picked up for 10 episodes. Showrunner/executive producer Chris Mundy is returning, as are Jason Bateman and Laura Linney, the amazing actors who play their kids, who play the Snells, Julia Garner as Ruth Langmore, who, amazingly, with all this talent on stage with her, she steals pretty much every scene she's in. She is the heart and soul of that show. Surprisingly, because Bateman is a talent to behold, and Laura Linney is always amazing. I couldn't recommend this series highly enough, and Bateman himself confirmed it on Twitter. Season 3 is going to enter pre-production very soon. Now, another Bateman project that is seemingly stalled. There's now news about it. But remember how Arrested Development came out with Season 5 early this summer? It was, I believe, 8 episodes. And they said, yeah, this is part 1. This is very unusual for Netflix original series, to not just dump it all out at once. They didn't do that, and they also didn't take the more traditional Hulu route of saying, yes, it's an original series, but we're going to release 1 episode per week. No, instead, they just dumped 8 episodes and said, coming soon, Season 5, Part 2. Well, it's been 4 months now. Hopefully enough time for many of Arrested Development's fans and viewers to forget the disastrous rollout that accompanied Season 5. First they had remixed, as they called it, Season 4, which aired on Netflix in 2013. And it was bad. It was filmed at a time when all of the actors had moved on to other projects, and so what they tried to do was do an episode around each character. And some characters got several episodes, so I think there were 2 or 3 Michael episodes, 2 or 3 George Michael episodes, 2 Job episodes, etc. And right before Season 5 premiered, they quote-unquote remixed Season 4 to to make it more of a cohesive narrative, more of a traditional sitcom. And in doing so, they bumped it up from, I think, an original 13 episodes to what ended up being something like 23. And it did not help make the storytelling any more cohesive. It actually took away from the little bit of enjoyment I'd had from that season. And then season 5 dropped, and it was accompanied by news that Jeffrey Tambor, who Amazon Prime had warned us about when they fired him from Transparent for making the lives of the cast and crew of that show miserable, it turns out that during the filming of season 5 of Arrested Development, Jeffrey Tambor took whatever aggression and anger and rage and toxicity he's carrying around with him, and he took it out on Jessica Walter. Walter, a woman who has been performing for just under 7 decades now. Someone who worked in Hollywood when women were treated as less than human. A woman who is very hard to break, hard to knock down. And yet Jeffrey Tambor, whatever demons he's carrying around inside of him, he caused Jessica Walter to be reduced to tears during the filming of Arrested Development Season 5. And when the Times asked the almost entirely male cast about this, accompanied only by Walter and maybe Aaliyah Shakwat. I do hope I'm pronouncing that right, Aaliyah. Please forgive me if I'm not, and correct me so I get it right in the future. But Bateman, Will Arnett, David Cross, Tony Hale, who plays Buster, they all said, oh, yeah, well, it was no big thing. You know, we're a family, and families are dysfunctional. And Aaliyah Shakwat said, yeah, but families are not abusive monsters like Jeffrey was. And Jason Bateman, ever the affable, everyman guy who wants to smooth things over, very much in real life as he is on screen, again, except in Ozark, where he's a badass motherfucker, said, oh, yeah, well, you know, let's just talk about promoting the show. And before you knew it, Walter was in tears again, even remembering it. So at a time when Arrested Development was in desperate need of positive press, everyone was reading this Times article and others in which, despite all her best efforts, the trauma that Jeffrey Tambor inflicted upon Jessica Walter reduced her to tears and brought Aaliyah Shakwat to a state of just rage, while all these men bumbled around and looked like apologetic assholes covering for Jeffrey Tambor, who notably hasn't appeared at these press junkets himself at all. I think they're afraid he's going to just go off and strangle the interviewer. He's got some clear rage issue. But about those 8 episodes, the idea was that any day now, the rest of the season's going to be released. And speaking for myself, I'm not in any kind of rush for those 8 episodes because I watched part 1 of season 5, did my very, very best. This is something I'm very good at separating the art from the artist. I can accept that Jeffrey Tambor has emotional issues that caused him to abuse Jessica Walter and still lose myself in the show, if the show is of a high enough quality that one can lose oneself in it. But these were among the worst episodes of any sitcom I've ever seen. They were an insult to the brand that Arrested Development has spent over a decade building up. They were an insult to the first 3 seasons that aired on Fox. They were an insult even to the extremely subpar original and remixed season 4. They were terrible. They weren't fun in any way, shape, or form. So as far as I was concerned, I was curious about when these episodes would drop. Part 2 of season 5. And as month after month after month passed, I thought, you know, Netflix has as much as announced that there won't be a season 6. Maybe they're not even going to bother with part 2 of season 5. Well, that's almost true, but not entirely. They took their sweet time, released all of Ozark Season 2, released BoJack Season 5, endless number of miniseries. There's a series about the 90s. There's a great show called Evil Genius that was produced in its entirety, and more stand-up specials than I could possibly count. And now they're scoring Part 2 of Arrested Development. Composer David Schwartz, who's quite talented, posted a photo of himself scoring it. He originally scored Part 1 of Season 5 in February of 2018. So taking into account that that dropped over the summer and was scored in winter, there's like a 4 or 5 month transition between the time of scoring the series and the series actually airing. So expect the final 8 episodes, not with a bang, I suspect, not if they're anything like part 1 of season 5, but with a whimper. Expect those episodes to drop either maybe by December of 2018, or more likely, I would say, look for them early January, maybe as late as February of 2019. And honestly, I can't believe I'd ever say this about Arrested Development in any capacity, but I just don't care. It's a name, that's all. It's like Kiss. Once upon a time, for some, there was something very exciting about that name, a promise of a certain level of quality, a certain level of entertainment that you couldn't get anywhere else, and a consistency and a joy. Fun. Remember fun? Arrested Development, for me, has lost that. I'm very thankful that Bateman, at least, is going to live on in Ozark, a series that is so incredibly entertaining. Couldn't be any more different from Arrested Development if it tried. And a real showcase for Bateman's incredible range as an actor, because as an anti-hero, he's at least as good as he is a comedic foil on stuff like Arrested Development, the many comedic movies you see him in these days. He is a badass anti-hero, and that's where I believe his future lies. It's certainly where my future lies as a viewer. When Arrested Development Season 5 Part 2 eventually does come out, I'll watch it, but if it's anything like Part 1, it's going to be more like a homework assignment than something I'm doing for fun, and that's a damn shame. Maybe Kanye could help me with this. Maybe the right amount of pills and sleep could help convince me that Arrested Development is salvageable, but I rather doubt it. But best wishes to all. Whatever side of the political spectrum you're on, whether you're bipolar, multipolar, borderline, narcissistic, just don't inflict your stuff upon others. Jeffrey Tambor. But by all means, do send me emails and contact me any way you like if you'd like to be a part of the Matt Sager podcast. You can email matt@mattsager.com or call 646-535-4788. You can also hit me up on Twitter. I'm @MattSager. On Instagram, I'm Real Matt Sager. Facebook, I'm The Matt Sager. And my voiceover page there is Matt Sager VO. This podcast page is also on Facebook, and it's, predictably enough, Matt Sager Podcast. And I've got more social media links besides. I've also got blog posts, articles, my voiceover reels, more contact info, back episodes of this podcast, and a whole lot more, and that's all at mattsagervoiceover.com.